This is part one of Introduction to Untherapy. So, Untherapy is a holistic system that brings us back inside of our bodies. And in order for us to do that, we need to understand how we're set up on the inside. So, in Untherapy, we divide our internal world into three separate domains. The first domain is your head. It's your thinking, your reason, your logic, all of the doing parts of our lives. And this is governed by the character that we call your inner manager. So your inner manager does the things, boots on the ground, makes stuff happen. The second domain, moving down from top to bottom, is your heart center. This is where all your feelings, emotions, reactions, your now present moment state of being is located. And that heart center domain is governed by your inner child. This is not you historically. This is you now, the part of you that is all the big feelings. The third and final domain is your inner guide. And this is down in the belly area. This is your connection to the divine. This is your gut instinct. This is your intuition. This is the part of you that just knows. So in Untherapy, we have a distinct personality for both your inner child. It's called your force of nature. There's one of four options: wind, fire, ocean, or mountain. And for your inner manager, there is another separate, distinct personality that is based on Gretchen Rubin's four tendencies. You're either rebel, obliger, questioner, or upholder. So we will discuss those in a later portion of this intro to Untherapy. But for now, what you need to understand is that you have these three domains, and that each of these domains has a separate and equally important function inside of your body. Now, we're going to end this portion by talking about the balanced relationship between the three characters. So it's really important to have these in balance, because the number one thing we do wrong as people, when I say wrong, I just mean we don't have this information. We don't know any better. So nobody's bad for this. We just don't know before we have this kind of a tool, is that we live from our heads. So we're just all manager. But I want you to consider a metaphor for a moment. Let's imagine that the whole of you, all three of these domains and everything about your life, is a kingdom. And let's imagine for a minute that this kingdom does not currently have a reigning king or queen. And to be clear, or I don't know, basic or easy, let's just say if you're a woman, it's a queen, and if you're a man, it's a king. It could be whatever. But let's just say for my kingdom, there's no reigning queen at the moment, but there is an heir apparent. So your inner child character, in my case, the queen to be, is your inner child. So this, sort of young feeling version of yourself that's right in the moment of everything that's happening is learning how to evolve into what will someday be this governing power. But right now, she's just young and innocent and bright-eyed, and everything's so big and crazy and scary and fun and all of the things. That's your inner child. The manager is the one in the kingdom that executes all the orders, that does all the things, that makes all of this stuff happen. So that manager in this case is the one that needs to be taking their orders from the queen, but because the queen isn't quite old enough or understand enough of how to give these orders fully, we have the inner guide. So the inner guide is, let's just imagine the wise elder in the kingdom that knows all the things, that has existed for eons and has all the information that would ever be needed to make this kingdom run beautifully. And in order for that to happen, the elder is never going to force their opinion or force their wisdom onto the kingdom. It has to be asked for. It has to be invited. So the balance between these three domains and how we bring ourselves back into our bodies in a high functioning, emotionally intelligent way is for the inner child, which is your seat of desire, the feelings, the wantings in life, the I like this and I don't like that, all the contrast that the inner child experiences in your heart center, is to take that desire to the inner guide and to let that desire be brought to the inner guide so the guide can then find the best way for that desire to be fulfilled. Likewise for the manager. So if you take this metaphor and think about that, typically when we don't have this kind of a tool, we're going to just think that we need to go willy-nilly, manager only. We chop ourselves off at the head and we say, what can I do to sort of survive? Or what does this other kingdom need from me? In Untherapy, we're very much about coming back into your own kingdom, your own body. So the manager, before they run off doing whatever commands might come to them, they need to also go to the inner guide, and they need to make sure that these desires, these orders that are coming from the heart, from the inner child, the things the child wants, they need to make sure that those are coming through the inner guide's inspired action. In other words, not just running off and because they heard somebody wanted this or some other kingdom needs something from them, that they run off trying to give away all their resources. This is really a metaphor that helps bring us back into our own body and take authority over our three domains in that sort of way. So no one domain, no one character is better than the other. They each have their distinct roles. And as we go through these different parts, introducing you to these different aspects, you'll learn how your personality in both the manager and the child influences how you go about doing these things. But for now, just remember, we have an inner guide, an inner manager that governs our head, our thinking, our logic. We have an inner child that governs our emotional center, our feelings, and how we process our reactions to life moments. And then we have our inner guide, who is the wise one who has all the blueprints and the information and the connection to source, God, the divine, to give us the proper context within which the inner child can get their desires met while evolving into that governing entity they will someday be. And then the guide also brings that inspired action into the awareness of the manager. So whatever the manager does for the kingdom is truly in the best interest of the kingdom.